Welcome to the latest episode, an Eclipse edition of Beatin' and Bangin'. I'm your host, Kyle Dalton. We have a lot to talk about in today's video, including discussing the ugly racing product at Martinsville, NASCAR's truly unbelievable response to the short track package failures, as well as some interesting news nuggets on several driver and team performances after Sunday's race. Plus, how my little family fun with the solar eclipse turned bizarre, and I have a photo that I need some sleuthing. However, before we get to that, let's go back to Saturday and driver interviews. Ryan Blaney visited with the media and had the most notable comment from the weekend, and it was all based on the question he was asked. Who did he think were the up-and-comers in the lower series? Take a listen.
Truck guys right now that I think are really show a lot of potential. That Christian Eckes is really good. This year he's done a really, really good job. I think Raja has a ton of potential. He's still young into his kind of NASCAR career, but I think he's really sky's the limit for him. Nick Sanchez, I think he's a really talented racer. There's a lot of talented people. I mean, the Xfinity Series, I see Jesse Love. I think he's really good. Sammy Smith, I think he's super good. There was a couple guys who came in this year to full time. Zane Smith and Hocevar, I think they're really fast. And really good speed. So, it's weird. I'm at the age now. I'm looking at those kids, because I remember when I was 18, 19, and I hoped guys were looking at me, right, and still just trying to do my deal. But yeah, there's a lot of talent right now that's coming up, and I see it. I watch all that stuff every week, and watch those guys race, and you can kind of tell, right? You can tell who gets it and who is a really good racer and is smart and who's fast. Everyone's fast, right? But it's how you kind of your racecraft, that stands out to me is how good is your raceability and how do you run around guys and race them. That's a whole nother level that I look at. And I think all those guys I said, there's tons of other guys I didn't say that I think are really good, but those guys kind of jump out at me.
Those drivers hearing that from the reigning Cup Series champion has to be a boost of confidence. It'll be interesting to see where each one is in, say, 5 or 10 years. Moving on to the race, and honestly, it can be summed up in one number, 86. As in 86 this short track package or do something drastic, and now. The other 86 I'm talking about is how many laps Kyle Larson led to open the race. After taking the green flag from the pole, the 2021 champ led the first 86 laps to the end of the first stage. Larson leading laps and not allowing others to pass him isn't a big deal. No cause for concern. He's just that good. But what happened in positions 2 through 4 to close out the stage painted a more complete picture of the problem at Martinsville. Bubba Wallace started second. He finished the stage second. Chase Elliott did the same from the third position. Chase Briscoe and Martin Truex Jr. swapped positions in 4th and 5th. It was similar throughout the field. In other words, 0 passing. The second stage provided yet another glaring example of the troubled short-track racing product when Joey Logano and crew chief Paul Wolfe made a move that took many by surprise during the stage break, taking right-side tires only and opting for clean air and track position. They then proceeded to go out and lead the race and hold off those guys behind who had taken 4. On lap 150, we were all treated to how bad the racing was when Joey Logano couldn't pass Austin Dillon, who was already a lap down in 33rd position. Listen to what Kevin Harvick had to say about the situation.
Yeah, and that 3 car of Austin Dillon's actually only 1 lap down, so he definitely does not want to go 2 laps down, Mike. So
day's over if he does.
Yeah, it is, and I don't know how much he can actually fight it as bad as his car is.
First, ouch on the comment. More on Dillon in a few. And second, was Harvick wrong? Logano held the lead until Denny Hamlin wrangled it from him with 11 laps to go. Hamlin won the stage, Wallace again finished second, and Logano faded back to 5th. Oh yeah, and Hamlin wasn't able to pass Dillon either before the stage concluded. The final stage included a Christopher Bell spin, green flag pit cycles, and William Byron coming to life, including passing Chase Elliott for the lead with 92 to go. It appeared the number 24 was destined for his 3rd victory in the 2024 campaign, but then John Hunter Nemechek had what appeared to be a brake failure and went into the wall with 2 laps to go. On the restart, Byron outdueled Elliott and won for an impressive 3rd time in the first 8 races, or a staggering 38% of the time. At this clip, he'll win 13 times. Crazy to imagine, but he won 6 times in 2023. He's won 9 times in the last 44 races. Maybe he doesn't win 13, but could 10 be out of the question? Staying with the Hendrick Motorsports theme, I know there were some folks bent out of shape over Fox's broadcast because of its coverage of the organization celebrating its 40th anniversary on Jeff Bodine's win at Martinsville. Someone hilariously called it the Hendrick Invitational. I understand being annoyed by it, but honestly, it is a big deal. They aren't the winningest team in the sport by accident. Let them celebrate the anniversary because they've earned a single broadcast remembering all of the organization's many accomplishments, starting with that first win at the track 40 years ago. Now for my official diagnosis of the racing product. Ugly, bad, terrible, whatever negative word you want to use to describe it. I think the word that comes to my mind is unacceptable. We're 3 years into the Gen 7 car, and the short track racing, which is the foundation of the sport, is terrible. We've had one test after another to improve the short track package. It's clearly not working. The drivers have repeatedly said they haven't noticed any change. Yet NASCAR has continued to go down the same path. This morning on SiriusXM NASCAR Radio, Senior Vice President of Competition Elton Sawyer made his weekly appearance and talked about the Cup race at Martinsville.
As far as the product on the racetrack, I think we can't lose sight of the fact of what happened at Bristol a couple weeks ago. I think we're not naive to this. We as NASCAR want our short track package to be better. We want that racing to be at the level that super speedways and our intermediate racetracks are today. I promise you, we are working as hard as we can with Goodyear, and we need to work harder. That's the bottom line. We need to work harder to come to a place where, as I said a couple weeks ago, we need to figure out how to bottle up what we learned at Bristol, and also what we learned the first 30 laps at Richmond last week on how that race unfolded. You know, the tires and the way they wear and the way the drivers have to manage that, the tire wear and the tire fall off is really what we're trying to achieve.
Sawyer was then asked if NASCAR would make a change mid-season and what it was going to take for them to make a big swing at this and try and come up with a change that actually makes a difference and improves the racing, unlike everything they've tried in the past.
This car is in its 3rd year, so a lot of work has been done on the aero side of the short track. And just to be perfectly honest, that doesn't move the needle. That it really doesn't. For whatever reason, it could be the speeds in the middle of the corner. There's a multitude of things that would go into that. But the bottom line is it doesn't move the needle, and the drivers would tell you that. So there's no need for us to put a lot of energy towards that type of testing. It really comes down to us and Goodyear and getting to a level. We felt like at Bristol that we were really close, that we step over the line as a collective industry. Maybe a little. That was the type of wear that we we don't need that much, but we need to be, if that was a 10, we need to back it off to somewhere around a 7.5 or an 8 on that scale, and that's what we need.
Did you hear that? Sawyer said that aero doesn't move the needle, and the drivers will tell you that. Well, yeah, that's exactly what they've been saying all this time. And then Sawyer said there's no need for us to put a lot of energy towards that type of testing. I think he meant to say no more need to put a lot of energy toward that type of testing because they've already expended a lot of wasted energy on that very area for months now. And the last bit on Sawyer's remarks. He mentioned Goodyear and Bristol a couple of times, including how the tire at Bristol was really close to getting it right. He's absolutely correct. It was a great race with tire fall-off. There's only one problem, and it's a massive one. Goodyear still hasn't come out with anything as to what happened at Bristol. That's because they don't know why it happened, so replicating that seems like a bit of a stretch. And if I'm being honest, I think Goodyear is the problem. Dale Jr. and others have talked about how the tire company is afraid of going with the softer tire that will wear quickly and result in some type of tire failure because it will look bad to the viewing audience and result in them not wanting to buy Goodyear tires. I call complete on this. In fact, I'd counter that argument with, based on how Goodyear tires have performed at short tracks, the tire manufacturer might really think about what they're doing on short tracks and how fans are not happy with the product. And that might be the reason they don't go buy Goodyear tires, because the company doesn't even know how to get a tire right for a specific type of track after more than 2 years of trying. As you can tell, I'm frustrated. All of us are. The drivers have been calling for changes to the tire, shifting, and horsepower at short tracks, and NASCAR has wasted all of this time and energy on aero to achieve a whole lot of nothing. Could what Sawyer said be a turning point for the governing body, and they're really going to focus on improving the tire? Based on what's happened in the past, it's just not believable. I hope they prove me wrong. I really do. But their track record just isn't good. Moving on, I wanted to talk about a couple of teams and drivers following the race at Martinsville. We officially reached the quarter mark of the season this coming weekend at Texas, but 8 races in and we're getting a more complete picture of who's doing what. Let's start with the team that made headlines last week when Austin Dillon went off on the team radio complaining about the team's indecision. Days later, there was a change at crew chief on the number 3 team. Unfortunately, it didn't matter at the paperclip, as Dillon finished 34th. His third finish of 30th or worse this season. He recorded a 16th at Las Vegas for his lone top 20 finish in those first 8 races, which is easily his worst start to a Cup season in his career. The only other year he had a single top 20 this far into the season was in 2017, when he had a 5th place result at Martinsville. RCR teammate Kyle Busch has been struggling as well lately, especially on the short tracks, with finishes of 22nd at Phoenix, followed by a 20th last week at Richmond and a 16th at Martinsville. Another driver that is struggling after a strong start is Corey LaJoie. The number 7 car started strong with a 4th place finish at Daytona and 13th at Atlanta. Since then, LaJoie has finished 32nd or worse in 4 of the 6 races, his best finish a 21st at Bristol. Rookie teammate Carson Hocevar has run considerably better. After finishing 40th at Daytona, the 21-year-old doesn't have a finish higher than 27th and has 4 top 20 results, including finishing 15th twice at Las Vegas and Phoenix. He finished 17th over the weekend at Martinsville. A more direct comparison of the Spire Motorsports drivers, and Hocevar has an average finishing position of 22.8, while LaJoie's is 24.4. All those cars we've talked about are Chevrolets. Let's talk about the Fords for a second. First, the obvious stat is no wins for the Blue Oval in the first 8 races. But digging a little deeper, it's even more concerning. Reigning champ Ryan Blaney is the only Ford inside the top 10 on points at 5th. The next Ford is Chris Buescher at 13th, followed by Joey Logano at 14th. Chase Briscoe is 16th, and Brad Keselowski is currently 18th. Is there time to turn it around? Of course there is. Let's be honest, the Fords weren't great out of the gates the past 2 seasons, and a pair of the drivers ended up hoisting the trophy in Phoenix. That's certainly possible this year as well, but as of right now, it's not looking good. And one final thing to wrap up this episode. Yesterday was the solar eclipse. Where I am in Texas, I was fortunate to be in 100% totality at my house. It was a cool experience I enjoyed with family and friends. However, while taking pictures of the festivities, something strange happened. Take a look. I've got the last 4 pictures I took on my phone. You can see the eclipse in each one of them. But on my 4th and what turned out to be my final picture of the eclipse, something appeared in my photo and I have no idea what it is. Those gathered with me didn't know what the unidentified object was either. Trust me, we tried to figure it out. There were a variety of interesting suggestions, including a bird, a bat, a drone, and maybe even people riding on the comet. And to be honest, I have no idea how high up it was because I was looking through my phone and focusing on the eclipse. It's a mystery and I want your help. Any ornithologists out there? Let me know in the comments section what you think it might be. Also, I want to get your thoughts on the Martinsville race and what Elton Sawyer had to say about it this morning. And what do you think about Ryan Blaney's predictions for up-and-coming drivers in the future? Remember, if you want to read my written work, go check it out at heavy.com and beatingandbanging.com, where you can also sign up for my weekly newsletter and you'll receive an email each Friday recapping the top stories from the week, including reviews of the various NASCAR-related podcasts. Thanks as always for supporting the channel. I really appreciate it, and have a great rest of your day.